Someone shot the food.
Good evening, all you nerdlingers out there. Welcome back to your Mr. Video Game live super show brought to you by Dead Sun Entertainment. It's a great day to be in the office, sitting here, talking with my good friends about video games. What's up, Josh C? How you doing, buddy? Good to have you in chat. It is, of course, September the 14th, 2020. Nomi, how you doing? And this is your Mr. Video Game Live Super Show. I am Slacker Kite. I am guy who hit button do and make show do go bang. And of course, with me this week, I have the amazing Brian, aka Wonderboy. How you doing, buddy?
You do more than just hit buttons here. You give yourself way too less. That's not a good grammar, but you know what I mean. You don't give yourself enough credit. There we go. That's the better. I can structure things. I'm totally not crippled by anxiety because of the smoky ass sky that is too toxic for me to breathe outside my window right now. I am a peachy keen boy bean over here.
How's that doing in your area out there? Is it totally unbreathable or just oh, this kind of sucks unbreathable?
Let's put it this way. For the past 2 days, multiple times, the AQI, the air quality index, has been beyond the index's measurement at times.
Okay, well
That bad.
that is definitely a statement, one I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, literally, they tested the air quality here in Portland against the rest of the world, and guess who's number one in most toxic air?
Oh, I'm going to guess Portland.
Portland with a bullet.
Oh.
The Trailblazers didn't make it out of the first round of the playoffs, but we're number one in something. All right.
I'm sorry I got distracted by Twitter. Holy shit, the Series X is 9.8 pounds. It's heavier than a newborn baby. Jesus fucking Christ, that is a big fucking box. We'll get to that later.
Did anybody think that it was gonna weigh less than that? I mean, that's a thick.
It's a hefty boy they got right there. Nice refrigerator for your gaming pleasure. Boy. Sadly, Lady Marilyn is not with us yet today. She will be joining us later, because we live in a capitalist society where we have to do work things. So, this is the best we can get.
Hey, it's still pretty good.
Yeah. We'll have Lady Marilyn, and we got a good show anyway, and she will show up later, and we'll have fun talk times with all that.
Oh yeah, a lot happened this week. Good for us.
It was a busy week, but on a personal level, buddy, pal, how was your week? What you been up to?
Outside of monitoring wildfire stuff out here on the West Coast, because we are in a blanket of hellfire. Not to mention fire tornadoes, which are always fun. Yeah, that's happening in California. Hooray! So outside of monitoring the wildfires and stuff, I've just been basically chilling inside with all of my windows as shut as possible, so that I don't.
Smart.
get nasty in my lungs and just kind of chilling, playing some games here and there. My partner, we broke out some board games and just kind of chilled. And
I didn't like the
uh,
first few words in that statement. It got better, thankfully.
yes, yes, it did. Like we made the best of the situation that we were in. Once we realized that we probably don't need to evacuate, we just kind of hunkered down with the cats and chilled and played some board games, played a whole lot of Rummy Cube, played some Magic, played some card games, and then I got the chance to actually play some video games again this week.
Oh
Um,
God, you had time to
yeah,
do fun things?
a little bit, yeah. I mean, it's also work, but also it's fun. I mean, also we'll get to this in the seventh inning stretch, but monitoring a very eventful week in baseball.
Oh hell yeah!
Um,
I cannot wait for like. I am so glad that it's become a part of our show now because I'm excited for talking about it this week.
definitely. No, but I kind of engaged in the alternate form of baseball and played a little bit of MLB The Show 19
Ooh.
because that's my go-to like turn my brain off game lately.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I just want to like put on a podcast in my headphones and just chill out for like 15 to 20 minutes, it's a good like take a break from work game, play a little bit here and there, and then get back to stuff. So that's been fun. I still haven't touched the new season of Apex, and I plan on doing that this week because it's been a couple weeks and I
Ooh.
haven't done anything with it. So that should be interesting. But I've been spending a little bit of time, basically this weekend my time gaming wise was split between probably about 80% running a giant Fire Pro video game character wrestling league that I just did for myself because I was, um, weird. And then playing this new game that thankfully the good people at the Quantum Astrophysicist Guild provided me with a code for this new little fun puzzler called Deleveled.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty straightforward. It's a physics-based puzzle game where you control two dots on either side of a plane with different like level obstacles. So like there's like ledges, there's spikes and stuff like that, and anytime they touch, they're in motion.
Mm.
So like whenever like if they're up a, on like a same level ledge and you push them off the side, they'll hit each other on the plane dividing them, and they'll bounce off with the same force. And so it's basically like you're maneuvering these dots through different obstacles to try and reach these switches to turn off the switches. And then the board restarts every time you activate one of the switches, which usually there's about anywhere between 2 to 4 from how far I played into the game on an individual stage. And
What's
you're just trying
this?
to activate all the
Liberty
switches, and
Mutual
then that
customizes your
activates
car
the gate,
insurance
and
so
you
you
finish the
only
gate.
pay.
And if you can do it without having to restart, um, or having one of your dots be impacted, whether it be spikes falling off the level, anything like that, or you just end up breaking the physics and you can't complete the puzzle, you get a star, and those stars help you unlock more levels as you go forward. So it's very simple in premise, but very hard to master. I would say it took me even with like there's 10 levels of or like yeah, like 10 levels of levels, like 10 levels of 10, that sort of
Mm.
thing. And even before I finished that first uh group of 10 levels, like I was already trying to like be finicky with it, just be trying to take multiple opportunities to try and figure out what I was supposed to do. It's very ingenious in its design in that way. And I had fun with it. And I don't know, it's something that um I like as a nice little brain teaser, um, where I need it, and it also gets rather difficult.
Yeah, I
and
can imagine
now-
like having to get your mind around all of these spatial relations. May break even the best of brains out there. I have to imagine.
yeah, and like you're seeing here, like you have like multiple switches there on the stream, and it's just it's a good challenge. I don't really feel I get frustrated because like you fail at anything, you're
Mm.
gonna get frustrated a little bit, but it's not like a frustration where like fuck this, you know. it's like a frustration where, okay, well, I tried this. What should I do now to try and figure this next one out? Like I have, it's good for critical thinking.
Gotcha. Sounds a lot
And
like my relationship with Baba Is You. Like, I just got all sorts of angry at that game and rage quit on that one. Like, despite the fact that I think the game is amazing, ooh, oh, it hurt.
yeah, and like and the developer Toaster Fuel, like they've been doing stuff. I think a couple of things over on itch.io. This is their first Steam release.
Okay.
And of course, the publisher, the Quantum Astrophysicist Guild, they are known for publishing puzzle games. They're the people that published The Bridge, as well as what was the name of their? There's like a almost like a not like a jewel thing, but sort of like a jewel puzzler, like a
Mm.
puzzle RPG sort of thing. I can find the name real quick. Sorry, Tumblestone. That's what it
Ah.
was.
Oh, I remember that game.
Yeah, so like that they got a good developer who is like exploring physics-based stuff, and it partnered with a publisher who is out there in the indie puzzle game market already. So nice little grouping there, and I'm having fun with it. I'm probably gonna go back to it for a little bit here as well. Like I've enjoyed it so far.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, as you can probably see by my little avatar I've put there, because the brain, nobody wants to see the random ass twitches, but yeah,
What have you?
I've
I wonder.
been playing a little bit of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the 1 and 2. And this game is pretty goddamn fantastic. Like, I think this would have been a huge seller if they had just, taken the games that exist and made them prettier. But they've added new tracks, they've added new skaters, the aged versions of the original skaters, as well as fresh, new, up and coming skaters. Whereas the first one, the most diversity, it's got, one black guy, one lady in it. The new roster is definitely a lot more diverse.
True.
Yeah,
Although to be fair, that lady, Elisa Steamer, also LGBTQ. So
nice. I did not know that.
yes.
Good for them. The game, they've added new things to do in each level as well. Um, I I haven't quite gotten my old man hands around how the game mechanics work so far. I'm still getting used to how to land tricks and whatnot, which is not very good for scoring points, but so far, like, if you want to play the game without ever going for, tricks or scores, you can definitely do that. I haven't been bothering with the combos and just going around and, like in this level, grabbing the letter skate, grab 5 fire hydrants, break all of the boxes. Okay. And so far, it's been working decently well for me, so it's kind of nice that the game gives you those little guardrails to, relearn how to play the game as well. They have a fairly robust set of constraints for if you maybe aren't able to ever get your hands around it. There's like a no fall thing that's baked into it, several other things, getting your manuals to always stick to dead center, that sort of thing. You can throw all of that in there if you really want to. It's there for the taking, and I'm always for that, honestly. Give the player the control to do the things they want to with the game. If they don't want to do it, they don't have to do it. And that's dope.
No, I've been thoroughly impressed with what they've done with this remake here. Like you said, the fact that they are actually like taking into mind how different players want to play the game and allowing them to do so, so that you can there are plenty of people out there that are just like combo freaks
Mhm.
with this game and are just looking to like see the numbers keep going up, and I am totally for that. But at the same time, there are plenty of people and plenty of even people that enjoy that challenge of the game, that sometimes you just want to turn your brain off and just skate around and chill and just play with your friends and that sort of thing. And being able to modify the game like that is very nice to hear. Like obviously, I already knew about like the new skaters and the implementing all of the different add-ons that had come with further or future releases in the series, past two.
Mhm.
But yeah, I love that they're adding all different kinds of different variants and customization features into the game. It looks so good. I'm just watching what we have on the stream right now. I'm trying to think back to whenever that Tony Hawk Pro Skater HD came out a
Mhm.
number of years ago, and just remembering how the warehouse looked in that game compared to this, and just like I realized that it was earlier in the console generation whenever that thing came out, but at the
Yeah.
same time, holy fuck, is there a difference?
Yeah, this
It just
game runs like
so,
fucking butter. It's great.
yeah.
You know, and definitely when you don't land a trick, you know, it in the original PlayStation release, it sometimes felt like I could remember as a kid playing this game, and sometimes you wouldn't land a trick because it was kind of hard to tell how your board was facing and things like that. In this, it's all on you. If you fuck up a trick, it is your bad.
Nice.
Yeah, so
I'm glad that you have that kind of response there because I remember having those same issues and being like, nah, come on. Like those moments were very frustrating. But nah, I have not seen a bad thing really about this game. I mean, obviously no game is perfect, but just looks really good.
yeah. And yeah, there's definitely times where you're skating around and you know, Tony goes off and does his own thing and you're kind of pissed off like, my man, I just want to turn around here, but that's being on a skateboard.
Yep.
Yeah, it's part of the fun of it is Tony, it's a corner. You could hop off and move it. No, you're fucking skateboarding. All right, but I think that about covers everything what's been going on. I mean, I've been reading, but this isn't really a book corner. So, shall we get into the news?
Sure. There's so much of it.
Boy, this week has been as much of what is the news. Oh, yeah, and Josh C actually raised a really good point. You can skip any track in the song or in the game, and you can configure only the tracks you want to play. And that's
Ooh.
dope as shit. So, man, if you only want to hear Superman over and over, you can do that.
Real quick, thumbs
yeah.
up, thumbs down on the soundtrack.
Fair, fair. And balanced.
Okay.
All right. Last week has been really, really weird. For the last week, directly after the show Monday, shit started leaking out of nowhere about the Series S. We literally talked on the show. We knew the Series S was fucking coming, and where is it? So they finally decided to show it, and it's this speaker box you got right here for $300. This first leaked Monday night. Yeah, directly after the fucking show.
Yeah. The leak came, and then for some reason, like close to midnight Pacific, Xbox confirmed it.
Yeah, and it was just a slow series of leaks. I don't know where these people got all of this, but like Walking Cat here released part of that trailer before Microsoft just kind of dove in and said, fuck it, boys. Here it is. The smallest Xbox that has ever existed at a $300 or $299 retail price. And it's got most of the specs that the Series X has. The graphics card can only display in 1400, like, what is it, 1400 psi, something like that. Let me pull up the full article from GameIndustry.biz once they put all of the information together. Anyway, it has most of the same specs as the Xbox Series X at half the price. Obviously, it doesn't have a disk drive. It is lacking the ability to play in 4K, which may be more and more of a thing increasingly as the console exists. But right now, most people really won't give a shit. The Xbox Series S is you can even pay $25 a month to get it on a monthly subscription basis that takes 2 years to pay off. And of course, the Xbox Game Pass continues to look more and more amazing as you can combine some of these deals together for amazingly great prices to get all of the Xbox backlog that is part of the Ultimate Game Pass. The naming is all a little bit confusing, and we'll get more and more into that later. But yeah, $299 for the Series S, $499 for the full box. So if you're just wanting to dip your toes in, you have a way. Obviously, there are going to be some relative issues. The SD is 500 gigabytes for the Series S versus the full terabyte coming with the Xbox Series X, which to me is still kind of small. We got a few more details in the Verge article. It is officially November the 10th that this all drops, and you can go out and get it at that point in most countries. There are some countries maybe slightly delayed, but primarily most countries. At least for anyone watching this show.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, the Series S was the worst kept secret, obviously. But and while Xbox was very odd in the way that it went about announcing this, I can't think of another console that's ever been like confirmed at midnight at any point, just like overnight, just like yo, whatever, we'll throw it out there, y'all will see it in the morning, screw it. I've just never seen something that flippantly thrown out there in a way. It's just odd.
It's almost
but it's got
refreshing, right? Just like, but fuck it, you guys figured this out. Here you go.
But that's the thing, though. People like kind of already figured this out like a month ago. They just didn't have the details around it, and they didn't have Walking Cat leaking the announcement video. Like
Also true.
yeah. So like it just got more and more. I mean, yeah, they probably got pushed a little bit here, but also like I'm sure the timing wasn't terrible for them at all when it came to this. So I totally understand. All that aside, this is probably one of the smartest moves that Xbox could make going into this next generation. Because one, they have set the standard pricing wise at for both the Series S and the Series X. Series X is, I believe, is $499 retail US dollars. So they've already set the price there 500. That's the expectant price now because Sony, but we'll talk about this a little bit later, but they have a presentation coming up where more than likely they are going to announce a price for the PS5. And if it's not comparable to that, Xbox is already a leg up a little bit. They're even more so because of this Series S, though, because I can't see the PS5 the discless version, the all digital version of that launching at the same price point, at that $300 price point. It's the perfect entry point for anybody who is financially challenged but still wants to engage with the next generation of stuff. It's a box that it's I've seen it compared in like specs to the Xbox One X, in terms of like the 4K upscaling and the 4 teraflops performance and that sort of thing. So you're not getting the full shebang there, obviously, but you're getting enough of it to hopefully make you feel like you're playing a next gen console, and still make you feel like you're making that jump. Which is nice to see that they're giving people an entry point that is a lot lower, and probably lower than what the alternative PS5 is going to be. So, in that way, it's a perfect place to push the market share, especially whenever you partner that up along with what they're doing with the additions and the new stuff they're doing with the Xbox Games Pass. Adding in all of the EA Play titles that they're doing with that, as well as the Xbox Cloud Gaming launching, I believe, next week, to go along with that. So like they are making a nice little package where you can pay like you'll drop $300, or you can do the payment plan, the $25 a month, and spend like 15. I want to say Xbox Game Ultimate Pass. That's not the right name for it. I want to say that's like 15 a month.
I think
It's
you're
like
right. Yeah, I mean
15
Xbox
or
All
20 a month.
Access.
Yeah, excuse me. So like you're paying like $15 to $20 a month to go along with that.
Mm.
Thank you, Joshua. Yes. So you're paying that, and you get the cloud gaming. You get all access. You get to implement all of your EA Play stuff into that, as well as all of the library that Xbox Game Pass already has, like
Yeah,
into a box that is going to cost significantly less than either of the two higher end boxes are, but still give you a high end performance.
and if the streaming turns out to be good, then you don't really need like a beefy ass box. It's nice to have the box there to play maybe some indie games, but you wouldn't need a beefy box to play the X Cloud if it comes out and turns out to be fucking amazing.
No, you wouldn't at all. I'm still curious about how that's going to be implemented on the console itself. You know, 'cause there has been a lot of messaging around being able to use that on Android devices right out of the gate. But I haven't seen a lot of messaging around how that's going to be implemented with the console stuff. So that'll be curious to see. I'm with you on the SSD. 500 gigs is feels a little bit small, but honestly, who out there that has a current console doesn't already have an external hard drive for that console? You're gonna probably end up doing that anyway. It sucks. I know it sucks, but that's how you're gonna be able to get the price down here. So it works out. Um, I don't know. I really like the move, and I really like the price point there. Obviously, with the Series X, I was hoping for something closer to 400, but I understand these boxes are beefy. They are like top tier spec. They're like PC comparable spec at this point. So they're gonna cost a bit more. That's fine. Also, yes, weight of a baby. So I don't know. Like I really like the move. I think it's very very smart, and I also think it's smart that they are offering up like a leasing or a finance plan for the Series X as well. You can do that for $35 a month.
Absolutely.
Um, so like they're making it they're creating they're really sticking to the messaging around basically wanting to put Xbox make it Xbox accessible on in any way, shape, or form for people that want to access it, whether it be through PC, Android devices, um, actual consoles. Like they're trying to find a way to expand their marketplace as best they can. And we talked on here many times over the past couple of years, worrying about whether they were really dividing their marketplace by going so hard on the Xbox Game Pass for PC and all the Windows gaming stuff alongside their consoles. So they're just kind of eating into their console bottom end or bottom line. But I don't know if you. I really think that their idea is starting to take shape with a lot of this stuff, and it's taking shape in a much better way than Sony has been embracing these sort of things. They are playing a lot of catch up. I don't so much so that I don't even know if they're going to stick with the plan. I know that they've been for the past year or so. They've been very hot on trying to get people to use PlayStation Now,
Mm.
and that service, while it's perfectly fine, it's not Game Pass.
Yeah.
It is nowhere near Game Pass.
Yeah, the what PlayStation has as far as its online access is definitely nowhere near what Microsoft is offering. Especially if you are a PC player, this is a very interesting small addition to add that gives you, a lot of value add to your Xbox All Access. So, or the Ultimate Pass, what have you. It's a nice little addition to throw into there. It's such a pro and con in my own head. It's like Microsoft looked at what Nintendo is doing with aiming towards lower, more casual markets, and saying, "Yeah, we want to butt into this territory too," but it does. And I've said this before. It does worry developers, and I've seen a few starting to say that because the specs are lower, not hugely lower, but slightly lower enough that a lot of these developers are going to have to develop towards the Series S and then maybe provide some nice tweaks for the Series X players. It it does make dev work a little bit harder, but if it comes at the expense of a better consumer market, it's probably a good thing all around.
I mean, it does make development work harder, and that is probably the major drawback here for taking this approach. I'll agree with you on that. But at the same time, if if Sony is aiming to do something similar with their digital version of the PS5, then all facets of the marketplace are moving into this, and dev cycles, dev cycles will change, and a lot of developers will adapt. I hope they adapt in healthy ways to this. Stick with no crunch and better labor practices are all around in this industry. But I think like any new console generation that comes, there's always going to be some hiccups for developers. And yes, this is a completely different one than we've seen at any other console generation at the beginning of it. But um, I think that I don't know. I think that they'll be able to figure it out fairly quickly. And honestly, if they don't, I don't know. That's a question to be answered a couple years down the line, because that would mean that could possibly mean an utter failure of a console generation.
Mm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this really works out, right? Because this could theoretically blow up in their faces, but it seems a great way to get your initial market out there. I do want to throw one final wrench into this blender. There might be a Series V as well.
Yeah, God.
Which kind of throws this whole thing into chaos, because from what we can tell, the Series V, if it exists, would be a Series X that is discless. That would be really about it, and maybe shave off, what, $50 to $100? Potentially somewhere in there.
But isn't the Series S already discless?
Yeah, the Series S is discless. It'd be a discless Series X.
Oh, okay, so it's a mid-tier.
Yeah, it is all of the capability without a disk drive.
Okay. You're making this more complicated than it needs to be. You're just making this way more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, if you're gonna look, I'm all for giving me a cheaper version of something that I still want, and that sort of thing. Especially if it dips down to 400, like it makes it a lot more interesting to me. But oh my god,
Yeah.
you don't need this much compartmentalizing. Do one or the other. Look, just do the V or do the S, please.
Marilyn, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, Chiquine.
All right.
Which Xbox do you want, Lindsay?
Does none of the above count?
Look here, PC Master Race. I might dip my toes in a little bit to the Xbox Cloud, but yeah, I don't see myself buying an Xbox personally. Just because, if I have a PC, I have a PlayStation, I have a Switch. I don't know. This box would mostly collect dust.
I mean, I've funneled probably the cost of 2 Xbox Series X's into this PC already. And about everything released on Xbox is playable on PC. So why am I going to drop even more money?
Good point.
I'm going to move some stories around a little bit just because I do want to stick on the same subject here. Here's a statement that's going to blow the brains of most of your shoppers, though. Xbox Series S will not run Xbox One X enhanced versions of backwards compatible games.
Wait, what?
Oh,
Xbox
God.
Series S will not run Xbox One X enhanced versions of backwards compatible games. They will instead run the Xbox One S versions of Xbox One and Xbox 360 titles. And this is where everyone's brain fucking explodes because Microsoft's naming convention. Holy shit.
Sorry, go ahead.
Is this the point where we hear Brian flip his desk?
If I was at my desk, I would try. I tend to not. I don't do the show at the desk because of the temptation to flip. No. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Why?
This is such a bizarre move. And I've heard a lot of people say, and they're not wrong, that if you take a look at it right, this is Microsoft following the phone line trends. Where, like, you have your Samsung Galaxy, your Samsung Galaxy Plus, your Samsung Galaxy S, blah, blah, blah. It's all the same line, and they expect you to do the work to figure out what the difference between these parts of the line are.
Look, has anybody ever said that the naming conventions for phone lines was convenient or nominal at all? Has anybody ever said, "Oh, I really like how they've split up the different Samsung devices into different things so that I know which one it is," as opposed to just give me the Samsung phone?
And this is why I prefer a OnePlus, because they went OnePlus, OnePlus 2, OnePlus 3. You know, like,
Exactly. And like I get it. If you actually break this down, yes, it flows because like you have the S games the S is streaming the S stuff, or the S works with the S stuff. The X works with the X stuff. I get it. But Jesus Christ. Like we talked about this years ago whenever the Xbox One was first announced. This was going to get finicky as fuck. This is the ultimate outcome of all of this. Like, if this is confusing, it's not necessarily confusing people that report on it per se, but all of this word jumble can easily cause people to think one thing when the other thing's right. It can confuse you momentarily. That's for people in the know that cover this stuff and are engaged with this stuff on a near daily basis. Imagine someone walking into a fucking GameStop or a Best Buy. Well, first off, imagine that because it's not gonna fucking happen because nobody's going anywhere. Whatever, I don't know. Maybe stores will be up. Stores will probably open.
It'll be
I don't
fine
know.
in Georgia. They'll buy it in the Best
Okay,
Buys
yeah.
in Georgia.
Exactly. Imagine you're in Georgia. You're going to a Best Buy in Georgia. You walk in there. I want the Xbox. How many of these? And works on this, and this works at that, but it doesn't cross over, and blah blah blah. Have you heard about the V? Like, just this is so confusing for the retail market. This is beyond confusing for just the regular consumer. I would like it's.
oh yeah.
It just makes no sense why you would go this route in terms of the naming process. Even whenever it does make sense if you understand the flowchart of it. But you have to be like super paying attention to some of this stuff to realize that.
Yeah, we're very inside baseball on the show, and even I'm kind of staring at this, and my eyes are kind of crossing each other as I'm trying to read this whole thing to remember the Xbox One X, S, V.
Yeah. Especially since, like, X and S both sound incredibly similar if it's, like, over the phone. So, and I know a lot of people don't use the phonetic alphabet. So that's going to get frustrating. I mean, at least with the Switch, Nintendo did it right. You've got the Switch and you have the Switch Lite. The Switch plugs into the TV, the Switch Lite does not. So you can always ask, do you want the one that plugs into the TV? This, you can't. Like, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and it's going to make packaging difficult because, some developers aren't going to want to dial down, so we'll have Xbox Series X only, and then they'll be like, but I have an Xbox, it's the new one, right? We just bought it. Oh, this is going to be a fun generation to get into.
I hereby be any retail worker at any store that sells these systems and these games, you have my pity. I stand with you. I am so sorry.
Justy,
I
one free hug coming to you, buddy. One free.
exactly. I was about to say like I am enjoying in a very like macabre way watching Josh's devolution here in the chat, realizing what he's gonna have to deal with working retail around this stuff.
I've
Jesus.
worked cell phone retail, and the amount of bullshit with the naming conventions there, like the old people that call every phone an iPhone
Ooh, yeah.
when it's in fact a Samsung. Um, so I feel your pain, buddy. I'm with you. I am so with you. Every game is a Nintendo. Yes, that's it exactly.
Yeah, I still like know several grandparents that call every console a Nintendo. So
It's gonna be a fun holiday.
while we're still in Microsoft land, so Apple recently has said, yeah, we'll allow you to have streaming game services, but we have to validate every single game that gets added. So Microsoft said, "Fuck you," and we'll walk away from this. So this is still a to be continued and seen thing, but Apple's anti-game streaming thing just does not feel good overall.
It's
Look,
just
sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
This is just such a mess. I mean, I can understand wanting to have full control over your app ecosystem.
Mm.
I can. I really can. But at the same time, like, this is going to lose business.
Yeah, it's going to lose business. It's going to frustrate customers. And how many customers do you think out there? Like, yeah, I want to play my xCloud or I want to play Fortnite. And they'll eventually move to the place where they can. Especially parents, because of the hey, does it have games on it question. Will get very old saying, oh, you can't play Fortnite on this one, honey. We don't have the Android, so we can't play that. It's not a great look for Apple, long story
I
short.
I love that Apple was trying to make themselves look good by like, oh well, you can by like the headline being, we will allow it now. Well, y'all can bring your stuff over, and then like all of the caveats underneath it, like all this other bullshit. I am very happy that Microsoft put their foot down on this because what they are asking them to do, in terms of like vetting every single title as an app in and to itself. The same thing we were talking about why they weren't allowing them on in the first place, and just making the whole process that much more complicated for people to access stuff, and to have to download so many different things just to play like a select number of games and that sort of thing through that system. It's immensely frustrating. And Microsoft brings up a very good point that we brought up, on past episodes of the show as well. You don't do this to video streaming sites. You don't do this to music streaming sites. You don't do this to any other streaming other than in the game sector. They don't do this to Netflix. They don't do this to Spotify. They don't make them vet every single thing on their app. And that's really the sticking point here is like they are trying to continue this archaic thing, where, or not say archaic, but this very anachronistic thing, where you are letting these other services just do whatever they want, but because you make most of your money from games on the App Store and in-app purchases on those games, not to mention whatever direction you're taking Apple Arcade in, games make up the most of your revenue through the App Store. The fact that you are like selectively choosing that industry as the one that you are going to enforce this policy on, where you don't enforce it on the others, one, within Apple's right, because obviously all liability text or any kind of like in-user license agreement or terms of service is fully up to the discretion of the people that write it whenever it comes to enforcement, just like our laws. thumbs up. And but the thing is, like, whenever you don't enforce it the same across the board, it gets very easy to notice. And so, like, of course, Microsoft is not going to accept this offer. Like, it make no sense for them to do that. I haven't heard anything. I don't think Google's responded to this yet, but I can't see any way that they would agree to do this either with
Oh
Stadia.
hell no.
Oh no, Google is just they're gonna laugh and walk away and go, no, this is why we have our own platform. See ya.
Exactly. And I don't think they'll exactly mind going, hey, our system is so much better. You can do all these fun things in ours. You can't do over there. Sorry, buddies. Okay.
I can see advertising getting so dirty in the future between Android versus Apple. So, like, it's going to be where Apple used to be the, oh, well, you want to do this? Well, we have an app for it before Google could pull that off. And now the tables have turned so hard.
Yeah, it's they continue to look less and less on any consumer side, which was the selling point of Mac in the 2000s. And you know, Jossie, I do have this long list of games that I could be playing on Stadia Pro. I'm never do it. But it's there if I wanted to. I could be playing Orcs Must Die 3 right now. The Power Rangers game right now.
Yo, wait, is that the fighting game or the beat 'em up game?
I don't know what this is
If it's
really.
the fighting game, the fighting game is actually pretty good.
Battle for the Grid?
Yep, that's the fighting game. That one's pretty good.
Fair enough. And I mean, we've got some SteamWorld things. I can play The Elder Scrolls Online. Okay. Let me put the phone back away. Anyway. Yeah. Of course, Microsoft is not the only company out there. We've been talking about them for half an hour. Hey, Sony's going to have a showcase this Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern. That's 1 p.m. Pacific, so 4 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
That is this Wednesday. Okay, good. I'll actually be there. Probably we will be getting the information on how and what to buy and what the prices are, and we can finally know how to order. And the especially good news is that Sony is definitely going out of their way to meet demand. They have been booking flights on Delta 747s to ship as many consoles as they literally can get out. Their goal is to have it certain that if you want a PlayStation 5 right now, you will likely be able to get it.
Well, I guess we figured out how they're gonna get everything over here.
Anime Addicts, welcome to Dead Sun. Yeah, it's a good question of how everything is going to get around, right? Because you don't have a whole lot of time to get this to the distributors, and there's already been some talks of various distributors with time and money problems, so it'll be fascinating to see how the rollout of the PlayStation 5 goes. Of course, I think all of us are literally working Wednesday, otherwise, man, I would love to actually live cover the PlayStation event.
Yeah, I'll be taking a look at some point Wednesday. It might be. I think I have something going on at that exact time, but I'll definitely be checking it out ahead of our show next week. I fully expect to get a price.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't have a price coming out of this, then I don't know why they're having this. Honestly.
Yeah, it'll be a big surprise to me if a price and if the links to Walmart and Amazon and Best Buy don't all come out. Josh Komar, dating for a year, huh? I didn't even know. Thank you for bringing more people into our stream. And, you know, Nintendo still kind of there, too. They have recently announced the prequel to Breath of the Wild, taking place prior to the existence of the calamity that brought about Calamity Ganon. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is coming into the show, or into the Switch. And they will have playable characters such as the champions that you saw bits of in the Breath of the Wild game, as well, of course, others, because it is not a Dynasty series game without all sorts of playable characters. So, the original Hyrule Warriors was loved by a lot of fans, so I expect this is going to do decent. You know, it's not a mainline Nintendo game, but it's still a pretty big release.
All right, that's it. It's official. Screw rent, screw my passport, screw bills. I'm buying a Switch because Hyrule Warriors is probably my most played game on my Wii U. And I need this in my life more.
Yeah, it's cute. Like, I'm probably still going to get it because, you know, it says Zelda on it, so of course I have to at least poke my head into it a little bit. But still, I don't know if this is really my game entirely, but I know a lot of people who loved Hyrule Warriors as much as Josh Komar poops that statement in our chat. And it just looks pretty.
It does. And like, this is just perfect. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with another Hyrule Warriors game. It looks great. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Liz. What were you gonna say?
Oh, good. This was literally my first Warriors game.
Oh,
Dynasty
okay.
series.
Oh.
And it's still the only one I've ever played, and I am so in love with it. So, I need more now, please. Like, a lot more.
Plus, the 4 heroes are coming out with their own amiibos to come along with this game. That one is a little bit questionable to me. That poll's going some strange places for that lady. Let's move on. Outside of big peoples, we still have our AAA businesses to talk about. So let's talk about the Ubisoft show last week's Forward.
Oh, God.
We'll ease into it with the good parts, and then we'll get to the bullshit.
Okay, I'm good about that. Let's do that. Let's get the posy out of the way.
I'm just going to skip over the pre-show, because either it was dumb shit, or stuff we already know, or stuff we'll talk about in a minute.
You want Far Cry in VR? You're getting it.
Woo! But they kicked off everything talking about Immortals Phoenix Rising. And of course, if you are on Stadia, you can play a demo right now of the game. Because they gave out that demo before for free, so why the hell not?
How do we feel about this? The renaming.
I don't care. This game, there is nothing about this game that I look at and go, I need to play this game. It looks pretty. It looks fine. I just could not be dragged to give ass about this, to be honest with you.
Like, it looks perfectly fine. The name, like, it's better than Gods and Monsters because, like, Gods and Monsters doesn't tell me anything about anything. But I don't know, like, I'm torn because, like, in one instance, like, I could see myself enjoying playing this. But on the other hand, I don't really know if I want to get invested in a game where I have to literally save the gods at this point. Like, maybe I don't want to. Maybe I don't want to save the gods.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a completely fine, serviceable game. I'm not saying this is going to be a bad game, because it's not, and it looks nice, but even the name Immortals Phoenix Rising has no character to it. There's just nothing about this that makes it stand out and go, boy, this is the fucking thing I need in my life.
Yeah, perfectly fine. It'll find its audience. People will play it. I'm sure it'll be good.
It's an Ubisoft game. People will love it. And no Mikola, debone the gods.
We'll get to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The new Prince of Persia remake of the Sands of Time game debuted, and I gotta tell you, it just yet again. I don't know if I'm biased here for reasons we'll talk about later, but this doesn't look that amazing for one of the greatest games I've ever played. Like, the graphics looked clunky for a next-gen game and all that shit. If you're going to remake, you gotta really do it up right? And this certainly exists.
I mean, I understand the gripe because yeah, the how it looks, and granted, let's take for granted like a lot of what they showed was all alpha stage stuff.
Mm.
So like, there's definitely more work to be done here. This game is probably not coming out until 2022.
Yeah.
If I had to guess. So, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with how it looks right now. I think it's really cool that they got the original voice actor back,
That is
and
great,
they actually
yeah.
got him in to do mocap now, and there a lot of the cutscenes are mocap. That should make for a really interesting aesthetic for the cinematics in the game. I mean, I don't know. Prince of Persia, I Sands of Time is a great. It's a classic. Where and it makes perfect sense that Ubisoft would want to remake it. I think it's very weird that Ubisoft is out there saying like our first remake. I'm like
No.
I've played those new Rayman games. Like, they're not necessarily the same Rayman game, but they're the same Rayman game. I don't know. It's just a very odd way to like talk about it in that way. Is like our first one. It's just like I don't really know if that's the way you want to be talking about it. I think it's really cool that they are mainly developing this in one of their studios based out of India.
Yeah.
And the lead is like Indian
Yeah.
of Indian descent. So like I think it's really cool that they're taking a story that is really based in that kind of Southern Asia region, and putting it in the hands of people in that region. And I don't know if it's necessarily, obviously, the story of Prince of Persia. I think it kind of like falls by the wayside compared to what the gameplay did to revolutionize stuff, introduce new ideas and new mechanics into the ecosystem. But I think if you put it in the hands of people who know that region and have like that kind of cultural experience with this sort of stuff, it could make for a better experience when telling the story within it as well. So I don't know. There's a lot of things that good that could come out of this remake that I would be here for if they do come up. If this is just literally we're upresing it, and or not to say upresing it, but we're not changing much about the actual story in the cinematics, or we're not like looking at where we can punch some stuff up, lower some stuff down, and just mocapping everything that was already in the game. That seems disappointing to me. But I don't know. I'm perfectly fine to see what route this takes. And it's a solid game to put out there. This is going to sell. It's going to sell.
Yeah, it's going to sell well. Sands of Time is beloved. It's such a great game with amazing writing, great gameplay. Josh C said in chat, it still holds up fine. The Steam version is still out there, and you can play it now, and it's good.
Yeah. I mean, the mechanics of that game were ahead of its time, like by a decade. So like, it makes total sense that game would hold up.
Okay, so I'm about to lose all of my cred again, because
What you got?
should really have a counter on this. I've never played Prince of Persia. Any of them.
That's fine.
But judging from this picture, this is supposed to be their remake and their re-release. This
Once
looks
again,
it looks like a mobile game.
Yeah.
I will caveat once again, it's alpha, so it's still
Hopefully,
early.
yeah, hopefully they get some cleanup on it. Maybe with more work, you could sell me on it. I really want to like Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. It's one of my favorite games ever. I want to see a good remake. I really want to see a good remake, but I don't know if that's going to be what they end up making. But hey, also, there's the new Rainbow Six. This is the launch trailer, right here, for Rainbow Six.
Yeah, their new season. Of course, I think this was already kind of out there ahead of this, but yeah, Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell is coming to Rainbow Six Siege in the next season. Also, a lot of time devoted to the Rainbow Six Siege World Cup esports event, which I the only thing that really stood out to me in that whole presentation was that how like Tony Parker from the San Antonio Spurs fame was there and was very much trying to talk about esports like it was something that he knew about. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, this. I just fast forwarded through so much of this presentation. I just straight up, like, I kept wanting to be hooked into something, and each time it'd be, I don't care. Well, I don't care. There's one part that stood out to me, and we'll get to that. You can probably tell what it is by what I'm skipping. Watchdog Legions.
Oh, let's talk about the good first, please, because I have a lot to talk about with Legion, and I want to feel good about myself before I get there.
Okay. Let's go to the other good part here. It's still not a game that I really give a shit about, to be frank with you, because I hate Scott Pilgrim. However, from everyone who has ever played the game has told me this is one of the best beat 'em ups of all time. I know a lot of people love Scott Pilgrim, and this is a game that was nearly lost to time because this was a digital exclusive at the time that it came out to the consoles. That it came out along with your Wii's, your Xbox 360s, what have you. So, for a long time, you have not been able to play this game unless you had bought it on the original consoles. And if you'll excuse me 1 second, I'm going to make more coffee because I feel like I'm going to need more coffee for the next part of this conversation. So I'm sorry for the noises you're about to hear.
It's all right. I am stoked that this is coming back. Like, I have my own feelings about Scott Pilgrim, like the story, the movie, and the comics and everything, but the game itself was rad, and I am glad that it is making its way back. I don't know about you, Linz.
I never played, sadly, but I like Scott Pilgrim, the franchise itself. I like the music.
Well, you're
I like the
Canadian.
story.
You have to by law, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Um, the movie showcased Toronto in some of the best lights I've ever seen. Um, and like, I'm just thrilled that this is coming back so that way a whole new generation can enjoy it.
Yeah, from the standpoint that I give a flying fuck about archiving of games and having this available to everyone who wants to, it's a beloved game that needed to be made available to people. So we have this game, and you can get it again on whatever the hell you want. You want it on the Switch, you want it on the Xbox, go fucking get it. You can get it on Google Stadia. I don't know why, but you can. So, also, Riders Republic is a game that exists and doesn't look all that interesting.
So Riders Republic is interesting to me because it's the next game from the studio that gave us Steep,
Yes.
which is completely obvious if you saw the trailer for this. Like, this is basically the next step in Steep. And I don't know, like, it's probably something that I will never touch, but it's perfectly fine. It's benign. It's whatever. Like, do your thing. It's cool.
I
Some
grabbed Steep as a freebie and played it for like 3 hours and never touched it again because it got really boring really
yeah,
fast.
yep.
Yeah, unless you're really into like getting your timing properly, it's not the game for a lot of people, but I understand the market for this one. It's not me. Yet again, it used to be me once upon a time, but it's a little bit repetitive for my nature.
Wait a sec, you mean you're actually supposed to get timing? I spent the entire time just yeeting people off cliffs.
Everybody plays games in their own way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So Brian, I feel like let's let you talk for Watch Dogs Legion, because I feel like you have more of a perspective of this than I do. Because and then yet again, I kind of fast forwarded through this one because I couldn't be made to give a fuck.
Okay, so Ubisoft has not been the best when it comes to marketing with their games recently. Of course, last time we talked about Watch Dogs Legion, we were talking about the fact that they were using poems related to the rise of the Nazi Party
Mm.
in their marketing for this game, all about resistance. But resistance against what? It's just resistance against the imposing forces and blah 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 in London. That's cool. That okay, we got that out of the way. We talked about that. That's still ugh. But I I said this in the Discord. I honestly feel like this game's marketing is cursed because every time that they talk about this game at a presentation, they have something else that just puts a sour taste in my mouth when compared to the real life stuff that is happening. Not just outside my window on the streets here in Portland, but across the country. You know, we're still seeing protests out in multiple cities across the country and that sort of thing. Um, and let's just put it this way: there was a couple of things in this specific marketing presentation that really rubbed me the wrong way and made me realize that Ubisoft really does not understand um, how their game um, associates with the real world and what is going on outside of it. Um, the first instance was whenever they introduced a character who is a street artist, and they very much touted that her main weapon was a non-lethal paintball gun. This comes about a week or so after a group of pro-Trump um, conservative counter-protesters drove into the city of Portland with their pickup trucks, brandishing paintball guns as well as bear mace and plastic projectiles, and proceeded to shoot Black Lives Matter protesters that were on the street from the back of their trucks with paintballs and small projectiles that could fit in a paintball gun. I'm sorry, but that was all. Like, you can't ignore that happening, and I cannot understand why that would still be in your marketing after that. Like, I get it that they're like, oh well, they're like, she's a street artist, so she's going to use paint as part of her weapon. Like, she has a paint bomb that like disorients people and all this other stuff, and that I get that, but you can't come out there at the like as a major. I don't even know if, yeah, I would say it's a major part. They're going through different characters and that sort of thing, and make that make a paintball gun. Point out that you're using a paintball gun in that way. I'm sorry, it might be too sensitive for me. I don't know, but it's just one of those things that like you have to understand the ecos, like the people that you're interacting with these things. Like, the world is watching this stuff, and there are plenty of people in the world who will see that as something that is being used against people who are actually standing up to imposing forces in this country. That was really really frustrating. And then also just like the very like kitschy, jokey tone that they're taking, that they continue to take with their like, we're London and we're standing up to the imposition and blah blah blah. We're dead set. We're the revolution. blah blah blah. Like you don't understand how these things work at all. Like I get it, it's a video game. I I get that it's a video game, and you want to have you want to be able to tell these stories, but also have like you have your fun with it and whatever and that sort of thing. They walked into a beehive with everything in this game. With the current climate right now, and I honestly don't understand why they haven't tried to. Oh no, I take that back. I can understand. We're talking about the same company that fucking used the Black Lives Matter fist as fucking propaganda for a terrorist organization in one of their video games. So fuck that. They don't pay attention to what's going on and how their stuff interacts with the actual iconography and the people on the ground using that iconography to actually advocate for real social change, but they just want to be able to co-opt that and use it in their game for a goof.
Yeah, they don't, as far as I can tell, don't really care about what's going on. It's just we can use this as a backdrop to stir up things. So meh. I do want to drop in a breaking news story out of Japan. The PlayStation 5 is likely to drop. Initial production was planned to have 15 million units produced by March the 31st, 2021. It looks now more like it's going to be 11 million units produced in that time frame.
That's
Reuters or Bloomberg Japan.
Rad. Real quick, I just want to respond. I had one more thing about Legion, and I want to respond to something Kelv is saying in the chat real quick. Kelv is saying that, to be fair, a lot of marketing is produced months ahead of the release, so I'll give Ubisoft a pass for this because they had no way of knowing when they created it that Trumpers would do what they did to Black Lives Matter protesters, and removing changing marketing is expensive and time-consuming. Just edit that part out. Just edit the artist character out of your trailer. You have to either just literally just it's the same argument we're going to make for something else that they did that was dumb and shitty prior to this in a little bit here, but all you need to do is just edit that little section out. That would not have impacted that trailer overall if you had just taken that part out. Just show some kind of social cognizance. That's all I want from this company. I know they keep failing me time and time again when it comes to that. But you have to be paying attention to this. You have to be paying attention to what's around you, and you have to be able to adjust and make, honestly, was minor things to this trailer that would have made it exponentially better. I still think that this game does not really understand how advocacy and protest actually works. But it's Ubisoft and it's a video game. I don't expect them to at this point.
Yeah.
That being said, final thing on Legion. Why the fuck is Aiden Pierce back? Who the fuck wanted Aiden Pierce back?
Yes, you gotta have that hat in the games, though. It's iconic.
Fine. Put the hat on a lamppost. That's fine. Put the hat anywhere you want to. Just don't put the hat on Aiden Pierce and put Aiden Pierce back in this stupid game.
So, it's always seeming to be with the stories this week, it's not what's directly talked about, but what's been indirectly talked about that has people feeling feels, let's say. And, Ubisoft, rolling my shoulders here, definitely dropped a whole lot of balls here. And just... this company looks like absolute shit right now to most people. The CEO did issue an apology to everyone was hurt by misconduct at the company, but it was not actually a part of the actual showcase. Before everything else, they just kind of released this from Guillemot. We have taken significant steps to remove or sanction those who violated our values and code of conduct, and we are working to improve our system and processes. Now, I understand from a legal and company standpoint that commenting on what you're actually doing, who you're firing, and all of that is not really possible to do all the time. And the fact that the CEO even recorded a message is nice in a way, but the statement that there was not enough time to put this 30-second fucking clip into your video of everything going on is absolute bullshit. There is no way you couldn't put it in. And the more that you try to sweep these kind of things under the rug, the more people you will fucking piss off, and the less people will want to buy your fucking product. And I don't care if you're giving $1 million for graduate programs for underrepresented groups. Good, great. But what you're telling me is you are effectively giving money to train the people who will future work for you. Because that's what the investment system that they put forward is money for people to get into the stuff that Ubisoft does and bring in more people.
That money is lip service.
Yes.
That's
It
that's
is.
all that all it is. That's all that is. And I don't want to stay too much on this because I don't want to monopolize this time. Because I'm sure I know that Lindsay has things to say about this as well. But just real quick, the minute that they put out the excuse that they could not add this to the actual presentation due to quote timing constraints, that's such bullshit. Like, you control, this is your presentation. Ubisoft Forward is completely controlled by you. You are not beholden to anyone else except yourself with how much time you have to devote to this presentation. Not to mention the fact that they had an hour-long pre-show and a half-hour-long post-show. Like, you can't tell me that you could not have found any time to slip in this short video of Eve actually saying something about what is going on outside of his company. It just adds to the argument that they have no idea about the social perception of Ubisoft at this point. And frankly, it seems like they don't care.
Yet I think they would just rather not talk about it and pretend like none of it's going on. Hey, it's fine. You know, everything's fine. We're paying people to come in and take a look at our company. So, hey, let's go on and talk about our watchdogs and all the money that you're going to spend on us, right, buddies?
But that's the thing, they can't even talk about Watchdogs right either. Like, all of this keeps pointing back to the same thing.
I mean, quite frankly, fuck Yves Guillemot, fuck Ubi. You're sitting here throwing money at a development program, so you try to distract us from all of the bullshit and all of the atrocities that you've committed. And what you're doing, like Trav said, you're training people to come into your company to continue to be abused. What the hell is going through your head? You need to be slapped repeatedly with a clue by 4 wrapped in barbed wire. End of story.
And of course, there's a bit more to it. And boy, yet again, if they had done this as part of their show, I think I'd have nice things to say about it because it's a good thing to do. But another part of that video was to apologize for, the use of the iconic raised fist in a negative light, and they are donating money to the NAACP. They said that it's inappropriate. They will be changing all of this. And yet again, if this was a thing that was said during the thing, and of course, hey, if you donate $100,000 to the NAACP, great, but also, hey, it's a tax write-off for you, but this could have been the easiest free fucking publicity that exists by saying this during the live show. Hey, we know we've made, problems, say everything else you did. We're donating this amount of money to training diversity and this amount of money to donations. And that would be nice if they actually put that foot forward rather than trying to brush it all under the rug like, hey, this is a nice little thing for all of you social justice warriors to get off our ass. Just put it in the fucking show.
They're not gonna get off your ass. they've had so many missteps in the past, like just in terms of like the public facing missteps. The past 3 months have been disastrous for Ubisoft, rightfully so. Um, Based off of like the years
My whole
of
life I've never gone
enabling
beyond this
the
valley.
discriminatory behavior within the company, as well as the stuff that they're doing now. Which honestly, if you have a culture of discrimination, what do you expect to happen? You don't have people that can be cognizant of what you're putting out there. Maybe if you had someone who didn't automatically dismiss um, having the main character of one of your Assassin's Creed games be a female instead of an alpha white male, you would have somebody who could explain why having the raised fist representing a terrorist organization in your mobile game is a problem before the public has to tell you that it is. Also, I love the fact that he did not address that his son runs that studio that put out that game.
Yeah, just as long as, Guillemot is in charge of all of this, I don't see anything really changing at Ubisoft, and it just makes me feel even grosser that these are games that I have to report on, and all of these games are going to sell well. And of course, just to throw in, it wasn't meant to underscore or the article Josh Komar in our chat wanted to see what the Ashley Birch article was about, because Ashley Birch is a good person, and Guillemot is not.
And I refuse to comment any more on the actions of Ubi and Guillemot because I don't want to risk blowing anybody's eardrums again. I apologize for that outburst.
I mean, that's kind of what the show is, so.
Yeah, but you guys are like level ragey. I am shrieky ragey, and I don't want to hurt anybody. So I'm now back to my customer service voice, and I'm gonna try to be calmer.
Ma'am, I don't know if you've listened to me several times fucking go off on the show. You're not alone. Either way, it is time. Roll your shoulders, feel everything out. We're going to go into that Blazeball 7th inning stretch here with Brian Wonderboy, where we get a chance to talk about the good video game online Blazeball, the ARG event of the year. And Brian, I hear for a fact that the commissioner is doing a great job.
The commissioner is doing a great job.
Oh, holy shit. We actually got bots in the show. Way to go.
Oh, sweet. Hooray. Yes, in the most simplest of form, Josh, Blazeball is really a video game. Okay, so Season 6 commenced last week. The Baltimore Crabs won the championship over the Seattle Grouches. But that's really the smallest thing here right now when it comes to what's going on in Blazeball. Obviously, at the end of last season, we had the concept of idols introduced, where you can choose a player to idolize and you can earn coins off of their performance in games. And that led to some very interesting things happening. And it's all been fan-driven, like many things with this game. So basically, whenever that started happening, a lot of people realized that you could idolize players who had been incinerated already. And that led to many people looking towards one player in particular who had been incinerated, Jalen Hotdog Fingers, who was the first player incinerated at the end of Season 1, where the Forbidden Book was opened and Solar Eclipses came and introduced rogue umpires who could incinerate players. So once that started once people started realizing they could do that, there was a blessing that was put up that called lottery pick, where the 14th most idolized player would be moved to your team, whoever won that blessing. And so people started thinking, well, if that's the case, and we can still idolize incinerated players who are effectively dead
Mhm.
in the baseball universe, maybe if we get a player who is incinerated to the 14th spot at the end of the season, they will be resurrected and brought back from the dead. And so that, along with that started happening. People kept Jalen Hot Dog Fingers at number 14 for most of the season, and then the Peanut decided to pop up and was very upset about the people trying to game the game, and so basically started offering warnings, ominous warnings. There was a red line demarcating the top 3 idolized players. No one really knew what that meant, but all of a sudden, the line. Well, first off, okay, I'm talking telling this out of order. The Peanut came and shelled 2 of the top players in the league, Jessica Telephone and Nagomi McDaniel. And then warned of a 4th strike coming. People freaked out. All of a sudden, the red line demarcating the top 3 idols was removed, and there was nothing demarcating any of the top 20 idols in the game, and that kind of led the idea of people trying to put players who had their names changed to Peanut, some form of Peanut, by the introduction of the Peanut at the end of season 2, to try and see what would happen. That I'm telling this all out of order now at this point. I apologize.
Finding order to this chaos is a little bit difficult.
Exactly. So basically, you had the line of 3. People tried to move all the Peanut players into the top 3. The Peanut got angry, shelled Jessica Telephone, shelled Nagomi McDaniel. They haven't been able to participate in any games. There's been a lot of ARG stuff where they're kind of like separated from existence because of being inside of the Peanut shell. And then the line of demarcation went away. The blessing went into effect. Jalen Hot Dog Fingers is back, resurrected from the dead, back on the Seattle Garages. But in return, the Seattle Garages had to commit a player to the Shadows. And that player, unfortunately, was the oft-derided but more recently heralded pitcher Mike Townsend. And it kind of led to one of the more emotional things that I've seen in an ARG ever.
Yeah,
and
it
not
was
something that I thought would come out of baseball, to be honest.
Yeah, watching Mike go from, the most derided, the character that the team literally made a song about how much he sucked, to suddenly going in and he's a real credit to the team.
Mike Townsend is a real credit to the team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put something in the chat here. This is the Seattle Garages in game are a band that play as a team in the league, but there are fans who actually make songs for the Seattle Garages as the Seattle Garages, and this went up today after after Mike Townsend's fate was committed, and I'm not gonna lie, brought a tear to my eye. This song is great, and it is really, it's touching in a way for a game this odd in that way. That being said, though, now that Jalen Hot Dog Fingers is back, they have an attribute where they are in debt. They have a debt to be paid, but no one knows what that debt is exactly. But we do know that apparently, whenever they get up to pitch, sometimes they decide to hit players with the ball, and those players become unstable. No one knows what that means yet, but people are concerned.
Yeah, considering that her name shows that a debt must be paid at this point, it's really... Yep. We have curled the fingers on the monkey paw at this point, and I don't think Jaden is very stable at the moment. She's, checking to make sure she has a pulse before every game happens.
It's really odd and probably the most ominous cloud hanging over the season to start. here in the league. I don't. It's also on a personal note. I'm really bummed that Han Fox is no longer on the Miami Dale. That's a bummer. I know she's on the Hellmouth Sunbeams now, but it's rough. Yeah, hot dog fingers.
On my own personal note, so last stream I was mad because the Wild Wings got put into the Mild League. My Wild Wings are put into the Mild League. And Graves, I'll get back to explaining it again for you. And we the Wild Wings, our lawyers, clearly sued the gods. And the gods, instead of listening, renamed the Wild Wings to the Mild Wings. So we have decided, fuck this now, debone the gods. You had damn well better respect our wings. We are wild. We are not mild. The spice must flow. Hashtag debone the gods. Fuck that noise. We're the spicy boys.
I swear, I loved this game. The Blaseball game in and of itself is still fun to watch and to interact with, but just the route that this is taken, where like you had a fan base that was much more focused on the like the interpersonal rivalries and stuff of the teams and the play and that sort of thing. And you saw in 1 week, just one fell swoop, the entire fan base like circle around and really like push the narrative of this thing in a completely different direction. It's really intriguing to watch and to kind of like tap into why this is working so well in this way. Like it's just the communal aspect of Blaseball is one that has been truly, truly endearing. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Okay, so we'll say one more time for those may not have been following as much, and we're going to be doing this every week because me and Brian are way too fucking into this at this point to ever turn back. So you gotta fucking put up with us for a couple minutes every week. Blaseball is an ARG brought to you by the good people. What is the Bandcamp is the name of
the Game Band?
The Game Band, yes.
Yeah.
They are a delightful group that decided to make a baseball simulation game. However, the simulation got real weird at the end of the first week. People could vote in an election to do what they wanted and chose to open a book. The Book of Blaseball was opened, and things have kind of snowballed since then. The Book of Blaseball reads a whole lot like if you were looking at like something from Control, let's say.
Very redacted.
Yeah, it is redacted, and it is full of like space logic, dream logic, if you will, of what is going on. And the developers listen and watch what the fan communities do. People are out there role-playing as the managers of various teams. They're role-playing as the actual players. There's even a group of people out there role-playing the lawyers for the Wild Wings. I'm not going to say it that other way, because it's wrong and it flies. But still, you play not as a player, but as a fan, a spectator. You choose to have a specific team. I chose the Wild Wings. Josh Komar chose the Unlimited Taco, sadly. And you can bet on the games as the season goes. And the season continues to go no matter what the fuck happens. The season goes, there's a game every hour on the hour until the playoffs happen on Saturday. And when the players aren't playing, they must party. Those are the rules. They can never stop playing or partying until they die. And even when they die, it is questionable what might happen. It is
Exactly. We brought back from the dead.
I don't know how the people running this are keeping up with everything that goes on, because the fan community behind this are voracious. They are constantly out there making things, being awesome. Um, and for everything going on, they incorporate a lot of the things that the players talk about into the actual game itself. Like when the game at one point had to be reset because a game ended jankily. I don't remember the exact thing. The fans called it the Grand Unslam when they restarted the game, and the team both won and lost at the same time, therefore creating a paradox that led to the unlimited tacos. That is the kind of weirdness you expect from Blaseball. That's the game. I recommend everyone fucking play it because Brian and I are going to talk about this less time usually in the next upcoming weeks, but had to get that all out for the audience.
Exactly. And like we end these segments every week, real quick recap on the standings as they are right now. Current division leaders, the San Francisco Lovers, the Hades Tigers, the Houston Spies, and the Philly Pies. And the current decrees for this week's election are fifth base, where the top 4 teams of the regular season, they have to run an extra base the next season. The walk in the park, where the top 4 teams in the regular season walk batters on the 3rd ball instead of the 4th ball next season. And then the bless off, where the top 4 teams of the regular season cannot win blessings during this election.
Yeah, and just to give a little bit more of the flavor, like the second election, I believe, what won was Eat the Rich. So at the end of every season now, whoever's in the 1% gets all of their coins gifted to the rest of the community.
Yep. It's a beautifully communist game.
Yeah, it is. The community is so communist and so queer, and it's great.
Yes.
This is literally if a fantasy baseball league met with the game Flux.
Yeah, it's
Literally
just so
making
fun
the
to follow.
rules.
Like, things happen fast when they happen. Like, you're just going along and you're betting on the game, and then all of a sudden, one of your characters dies.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Speaking of Jalen Hot Dog Fingers, hit a few more players today. Jesus Cock, Eugenia Garbage, and Elijah Bates.
Jesus Christ.
Our zombie lady is going on a fucking massacre, so... We'll, of course, report more on that as we go. We spent way too much fucking time on that. Let's get into the rest of the stories.
Yes.
Viacom is selling off CNET. $500 million. Like, I remember how big CNET was when in its heyday, and whatever that was worth, it definitely is. Like, yeah, it was originally nearly $2 billion, so selling off for $500 million is a huge devaluation, but I have to imagine it being 12 years, they probably made some of the money back on that. Regardless, GameSpot, Metacritic, TVGuide.com, all being sold off to Red Ventures. Red Ventures sounds like they're not going to do a whole lot with it, other than let it exist and do what it does. And I hope that they stand by that to add new verticals and accelerate its company. Sure, fine. I would hate to see bad things happen to CNET because they have such a history in all of their stuff. They are one of the first blogging large groups to have come out of and survive the .com bubble. So bless them and good luck.
Yeah, I mean, the major thing here for us really is that GameSpot and Giant Bomb are included in this sale. So yeah, it'll be curious to see what happens there. You know, there's still a lot of questions. Like I know Jeff Gersman from Giant Bomb was out earlier today, like talking about like he doesn't really know any more than the general public does about it right now. But he's optimistic, so we'll see what happens. You know, we'll cross fingers. Hopefully that this turns out to be a good thing for the video game communities there.
Yep, fingers crossed on that one. Boy, this story is just a whole lot of fun. cheating in Fall Guys is not surprising to anyone at this point. That why the fuck they do it, nobody seems to understand, but they still do it. Mediatonic has tried to do a light glove so far, doing a really tolerant version of it, and people just kind of kept going and doubled down. So they're currently working with Epic to get the anti-cheat stuff that's basically helping them out with Fortnite into Fall Guys, so that's all good. But while they were watching the cheaters, they also made a island, and basically you had to find enough people to play a game in order to do this, and usually the cheaters just kept falling forever, but they believe that they found some video of the island when people actually were able to make into the game and play with all of their cheaty cheats enabled, so they were all together for at least a while, all of the cheaters at the same time.
I mean, that's gotta be infuriating for them.
I don't know.
I
This
love
might
this
be fun
idea.
for them, frankly.
This is just perfect. I'm all for this.
But yeah, the good news is for anyone bothered by cheaters in Fall Guys, while they do seem to be very limited, the big Yeetus update that is going live soon will also have Epic's anti-cheat solutions enabled within it. So hopefully Fall Guys gets to be a little cleaner coming very soon. And hopefully it doesn't do as overboard as it sometimes does with the Epic tool set. That being said, there of course are new games coming out, and Spelunky 2 believe is coming out later this week. The much anticipated sequel that's been in the work for several years now to the OG Spelunky, and people have been able to play it. I've watched a few of the bigger streamers play a little bit of Spelunky 2, and essentially if you love Spelunky, you'll love this, right? It is Spelunky, but cleaner, smoother, and with a whole lot of more stuff to do. New secrets to find, new paths to take, and of course it's also on the fucking moon. So it looks good, and everything that I've read and seen about it, the people who loved Spelunky continue to love Spelunky 2, and the people that don't understand Spelunky don't understand Spelunky 2. Yeah. Just one of the biggest community games that have existed out there for the indie scene, and it's exciting to see where it goes with version 2 of the game out there now. And I have to imagine Spelunky will develop on what they have out there, because it's rarely a team that I've seen just sit back upon their haunches.
Oh no, this already looks outstanding, and it's the same way that Spelunky 1 just got better with what they added onto it as it went along. Like Spelunky 2, yeah, like it's already so good. I am super stoked to get my hands on this.
Yeah, I will admit I am one of the people who tried Spelunky, couldn't really get their heads around it, but boy, I love watching people play Spelunky who can play this game well, because while I can't get my head around it, it's real fun to watch. Because you can die at any second.
I'm just beyond terrible at this game. Because I'm pretty sure you gave me a Steam code for it, and I grabbed it, and flailed around for like an hour and didn't get past the first level.
Sounds about right. Yeah, it takes a while to learn the tricks. Like, people have invested thousands of hours into the original Spelunky to find all of the secrets and tricks in order to really make this game the depth of game that it can be. And in other news, Leafy is no longer here. Of course, previously banned from YouTube for being fucking toxic. And now he's been also banned from Twitch for, hey, guess what? Being a fucking toxic piece of shit.
I didn't even realize he was on Twitch, but it makes sense.
Neither did I, honestly.
He had to do something after he got banned from YouTube.
Yeah.
Watch for him to pop up on Facebook Gaming.
Oh, fuck my life. No. He needs to be banned from the internet. Period.
Yeah, he was part of the rise of the YouTube drama sphere that made YouTube feel toxic and intolerable for a long time. So him getting the fuck out of all of this shit is a good feel. Speaking of toxic bullshit, the Navy Twitch, which continues to just be fucking hilarious. So during one of their recent games, they decided to room up with some players, named things like the gamer word and Japan 1945, and they just kind of joked about it, and boy, they had a laugh. And now the Navy itself has said that Chandler will no longer be a part of their stream team, that they do not support what happened upon the stream. He never said the gamer word itself, but boy, he sure did joke around it for a while, and all of this good stuff, and he just kind of tried to bait the audience because a lot of the watchers are now just going to watch the stream to make fun of and mock the Navy people, which has been real awkward for all parties involved.
I mean, it's not awkward, honestly. For me, it's gross in a lot of ways because like literally like the streamer in question here, who's part of the Navy streaming team. Let's see if I can get his full name here. Brandon Chandler. He, they were playing Among Us and had multiple players that he said were his close friends have their characters bearing offensive names that basically made light of racial slurs as well as the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And while all this was happening, Chandler was saying that he couldn't see the chat, while everyone in the chat was basically like calling him out for the bullshit and like just asking why are you making fun of the death of 250,000 people in there. And then another member of the Navy streaming team who was supposed to be moderating the chat didn't care, like they just didn't really care about what was happening and just basically tried to tell everybody like, calm down, you're making a big deal out of nothing. It was complete horseshit. This whole situation was horseshit. They played like this for like over 40 minutes. Chandler's no longer with the Navy streaming team, according to the Navy. It's just another misguided misstep in the armed forces using Twitch as any kind of tool in any way, shape, or form. It's just so gross, and it just. I mean, we say this every time we talk about this. It's just they keep finding new ways to one up themselves on the gross factor when it comes to how they use the system. And honestly, at some point, Twitch has to step in and do something for real about this. Like you have to, this violates the TOS in a lot of ways, or at least some ways. Like you have to step in and enforce your stuff. And like I said earlier, when we were talking about Apple, like it's all up to the discretion of the people that wrote it to enforce it. But you have to enforce this stuff. This should not come down to the fans and the viewers. I'm not going to say fans, just the people that are in the chat that are viewing this stuff to call out your bullshit. Like it should not come down to that. This should be something that Twitch should be looking at.
Yeah, I don't really have anything positive to say in regards to the Navy Twitch thing. This has been just one of the best things that to follow, but it continues to exist for reasons I'm not sure of. But hey, let's go into our final story of a thing that continued to exist that no one was really sure of. EA is finally killing off the Origin name entirely. It's probably about time. Origin was never precisely loved, and boy, did it drag the good name of Origin through the fucking mud. So they are going to rename the client to the EA desktop app so we can all put our name and our hatred into where it really belongs. You know, fuck EA, all of that good stuff. Origin tried to be the Battle.net client, and just nobody ever liked Origin. And of course, it's still going to be there. It'll be the EA desktop app. But it feels more appropriate to hate something that is titled EA rather than something kind of nice like Origin used to be.
I mean, it makes sense, especially whenever you see the stuff they're doing with EA Play implementation on Steam and with Xbox Game Pass. Like, you don't even have to interact with the desktop app anymore if you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Which is good, because the desktop app sucked.
Well, it still exists, so it still sucks. But
yeah, but I'm happier saying EA sucks than Origin sucks. So let's do that, because Origin was something positive once.
Yeah, I mean, they gave us Ultima Online.
Mm-hmm. And I knew people who fucking loved it. I never played it, but it was a good name once. It was a good name.
It was my first MMO because I didn't own a computer that could run WoW.
So goodbye, Origin. We are very sorry that you had to be resurrected in this horrible way, and please may your memory be much nicer than being the shitty app to access or EA games. But hey, that is of course the last article of today, but we cannot finish Mr. Video Games ever, especially not on this September 14th, 2020, without going into who is the recipient of our award for Mr. Video Games. In case you have not been here and don't know, Mr. Video Games is that thing, person, place, noun that has done something that you just look at. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's ugly, it doesn't matter, but you look at what they've done and you say, that. God, that's video games. And our Mr. Video Games for Monday, September the 14th, 2020, are all the Karens on Xbox. Did you know that Karens, that name, was specifically banned from Xbox for a while? And a reporter from Eurogamer, Wesley and Poole, decided to take a look into it because he found out while playing Wastelands that, hey, I can't name my character Karen, and that is the name of the character I wanted to use. And so he started doing some digging and found out more people had tried to name their character Karen and got that it was blasphemy. So he took a look further outside of Wastelands and turned out that people from all sorts of games had it banned. So he went on a little spree trying to speak with people at Xbox to find out why the fuck this was banned, and nobody seemed to be sure why, and then all of a sudden, the name Karen was allowed again. So that is how a game reporter came to unban all of the Karens of the world from Xbox community. You are welcome, Karens! You may now play your Wasteland 3 as you will.
what the fuck?
It is such an odd fucking story. Like, nobody knows. They couldn't find any reason why Karen was banned previously. I mean, yeah, we've heard people talking about before, oh, Karen's a slur. Oh, how terrible.
But here's the thing, like, it wasn't banned on any other gaming platform, like Steam, PSN, Switch, like nothing. Just Xbox.
Yeah, just Xbox, and it is really dumb, and it may have just been that a lot of people started reporting the name Karen because it's funny and got it banned. That might be a possible thing that happened. Nobody really knows, though, and we'll never know now. But you can be Karen on Xbox again, and that is the good thing. But this has been Mr. Video Games for September the 14th, 2020. Lady Merwin, any final words for us this evening?
So I'm back to streaming every Sunday night, 9 p.m. over on my channel. Follow on Twitch and such for updates. Don't forget to love each other from, of course, a socially acceptable distance. Wash your damn hands, be the change you want to see in the world, and just be cool.
Wonder Boy, any final words for us this evening?
Sure. Check out my writing at outsports.com. Follow me on Twitter at WonderboyOTM for updates on other stuff I'm working on at other places. Check out my my queer wrestling podcast, LGBT in the Ring, every Thursday. Just search Outsports in whatever podcast service you use. And echo everything that Lynn said as well. And yeah, I think that's. Oh, one more thing. Karen's not a slur. Karen's never a slur. Never. Also, also, sorry. One more addendum. J.K. Rowling can eat it. Fuck out of here.
Oh, I'm not even going to get into that pile of breath.
We don't need to.
Bricks.
Just that's all. That's where it begins. That's where it ends. J.K. Rowling, eat it.
All right, this has been Mr. Video Games for September 14th, 2020. Of course, tomorrow, me and Brian are coming back to talk to you about gaming history. We'll be talking about the Atari, the rise of Nolan Bushnell, and the original arcade release of Pong. I want to thank everyone that has come in today. Josh Komar, Kelvin Gaming, that follow from Anime Addicts, Diablo Graves, I think I said Kilvin, but I'll say it twice because you follow so much. Nomicola, all of our wonderful friends out there, all of the delightful people who listen to the podcast every week, all of the people who talk, all of the people that don't talk. I love all of you, whether you speak to us or not. Just, we want you here listening to our beautiful voices every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We hope to see some of you again tomorrow. And I'm going to try something unusual because, hey, maybe if we start doing things properly over at Twitch, we'll get some clicks. So I'm going to raid a friend of ours. Koala Tums has been on the show before, reviewing old 80s cartoons with myself and Hollis. And Koala is a adorable, great streamer with maybe the best laugh that ever existed. So I'm going to raid Koala. Thank you, everybody who came. Have a great night and a pleasant tomorrow.
Bye. Small, like, very minimal amount.